911, what's your emergency?
I still have the recording. I'm not supposed to, but I kept it. Sometimes I play it back in the middle of the night just to remind myself it was real. The call starts with nothing but breathing. Wet, shallow, terrified breathing. Then, "Hi, baby. I'll be ready in just a minute." Her voice is sweet. Too sweet. It takes a second before I realize she's not talking to me. She's pretending to talk to someone who's listening. And that's when I feel it, that cold spike in my gut. I know exactly what this is. She's been taken, and she's calling from the trunk of a moving car. I've been a 911 dispatcher in West Haven for over a decade. You get a feel for voices, how people talk when they're scared, when they're drunk, when they're lying. This was different. This was someone hanging by a thread, trying to outsmart the thing that had taken her. And somehow she'd gotten hold of a phone. "Ma'am," I said calmly, already typing to trace the call. "You're on with 911. Are you in danger?" She didn't respond right away. I could hear the muffled roar of tires, like she was on the highway. "Just picking out an outfit now," she said, voice slightly louder. "What do you think, red or black?" My hands froze for a second. She was pretending to be on a normal call. She couldn't say what was happening directly. Then I heard it. A man's voice, faint but distinct, somewhere near her, like he was driving. "Black," he said, chuckling. "Red's too obvious." That was the first time I felt truly helpless on the job. I couldn't ask her direct questions. I couldn't say, "Are you in a trunk?" or blink twice if you're being kidnapped. This wasn't TV. This was real, and if he suspected anything, she was dead. I took a breath. "Got it," I said, trying to sound casual. "Just so you know, this call is being recorded for quality purposes, and your number came up with an unusual service code. Could I verify your zip code real quick?" A pause. Then, in the same cheerful tone, she said, 06516. "West Haven." I muted my mic and turned to my supervisor. "We've got an abduction, possibly a moving vehicle. Female caller, cooperating. Get PD on mobile trace now." The call stayed connected for 2 minutes and 48 seconds, and every second was a slow burn panic. She kept improvising, talking about going out, asking what he wanted to eat. Her voice shook only once, when she said the word home. Then he spoke again, louder this time. "What are you doing with my phone?" And just like that, the call went dead. The trace only gave us a general range, somewhere along I-95 between exits 42 and 48. Cops were dispatched instantly, but it was like chasing a ghost. The phone pinged one more time near an industrial park, then vanished. Her name was Tiana Alvarez, 26, disappeared from a gas station parking lot less than an hour earlier. Security footage showed her walking to her car, alone. A white van pulls in. The footage cuts for 20 seconds due to a glitch. When it resumes, the van's gone. So is she. For 2 days, no leads. Nothing. Then, on the third morning, a sanitation worker reported a strange smell from a shipping container behind an abandoned textile mill off Route 122. Inside, they found her, wrapped in an old shower curtain, face bruised, mouth duct taped. She was alive. Barely. It took her weeks to speak again. When she finally could, she confirmed what we'd suspected. She'd been taken at knife point, forced into a trunk. The guy had left his phone in the back seat, within reach. It had no signal in the area she was kept, but once they were on the road, she got one bar and called 911. The rest she pieced together from the tone of my voice. She never saw his full face. Said he wore a ski mask the whole time. He never used her name. Didn't ask for ransom. Just drove her out, tied her up, and left her in that container like a piece of trash. No one's ever been arrested. The van was found burned 5 towns over. That should have been the end of it. But then, the second call happened. 3 months later, another late shift. Different phone number. Different voice. Same pattern. A woman speaking softly, pretending to talk to a boyfriend. Asking what to wear. Asking where they were going. And underneath, barely audible, a man humming along to the radio. I felt my blood turn to ice. This time, we traced it to somewhere in Vermont. Before we could lock in the exact tower ping, the call cut out. I reported it, logged it, called every authority I could, but it didn't matter. No body was found. No missing person matching the voice. I told myself it was a copycat, someone playing a twisted prank. But the voice, it was the same kind of fear. Then a call came in from Oklahoma, another from Oregon. Same fake dialogue, same forced calm, same feeling. Always a different number, always a different voice, but always the same game. Sweet voice, pretending, asking what to wear. Once, I swear I heard Tiana's name whispered on the line, just before it disconnected. I've stopped reporting them. The cases go nowhere. They never last more than a few minutes, and there's never a return number. It's like chasing phantoms through fog, but I still answer every single one, because I know he's still out there, driving from state to state, letting them make one last call. And lately, I've started to think it's not just random. One of the calls came through on my personal phone. Blocked number. Same thing. A girl pretending to chat about a dinner date. Only this time, she said my name. Not my full name. Just Becca. Like someone had told her who to call. I didn't tell anyone about that one. What would I say? Sometimes I wonder, does he know who I am? Did she tell him about me? About how I helped? Or does he just listen to the calls after, memorize the voices on the other end? I don't go out after dark anymore. I double-check my locks 5 times. I've started dreaming about trunks, dark, metal, airless. I wake up gasping, the taste of duct tape in my mouth. The weirdest part? I think Tiana's still alive. I've seen her interviews, her testimony, but I've also seen her eyes. And something in them never came back. She moved away, changed her name, I heard. Never told the public what else he did, but I think she knows he's still out there too. Sometimes I wonder if he's grooming them. If each call is a message not to save them, but to remind me I can't. Maybe the call isn't for help. Maybe it's for me. So if your phone rings late at night from a number you don't recognize, and you hear a soft voice on the other end asking what color dress to wear, don't hang up. Don't speak. Just listen. Because you might be the last person they ever talk to. And if you listen carefully, right before the line cuts off, you might hear breathing, but it won't be hers. I've taken a lot of calls in my time. Screaming, sobbing, silence. There's not much that rattles me anymore. But there's one I'll never forget. May 1st, 2010, around 5 a.m. The call that came in was faint at first. Static, wind, someone running. Then a voice, female, high-pitched, hysterical. There's somebody after me. I straightened in my chair and signaled my supervisor without even thinking. The tone of her voice, it didn't sound staged or drunk or confused. It was real fear, primal. The kind that makes your hands shake no matter how calm you try to stay. "This is 911, I said. "What's your location?" No answer. "Are you in danger?" A pause, then rustling. It sounded like she was running again. Then, softly, breathless, "They're going to kill me." I tried pinging the call. It was bouncing off multiple towers, somewhere near Oak Beach, Long Island. A remote, quiet area. Gated community. Sparse lights. Not the kind of place people go at 5 in the morning unless they have a reason. She didn't stay on the line long. A minute and a half, maybe 2. But what she said has lived in my head ever since. "They're after me. He won't let me leave. Why won't anyone help me?" Then it just cut. No click. No goodbye. Just dead air. Calls drop all the time. But this one was different. You could feel it. Like the line had gone dead because someone made it go dead. I flagged it immediately. Police were dispatched to the area based on the weak ping. Took them a while to find the house she'd been at. An older man named Joseph Brewer had called a driver service to bring her over. According to his story, she was acting erratic. Started screaming and running around the property. He said he didn't know where she went after she bolted. That was the start of it. The officers found her purse, her shoes, her phone, all still inside the house. But no Shannon. What's worse, multiple neighbors reported seeing her. One said she banged on their door screaming for help. They didn't let her in. Another saw her running along the edge of the marsh, looking over her shoulder. By the time responders arrived, she was gone. Vanished. The search went on for months. Helicopters, drones, canvassing, dogs, nothing. Until December. A K-9 unit was sweeping the area for any sign of Shannon when they found something else entirely. Human remains. Not hers. Another woman. Then another. Then another. Within days, 4 bodies. All women. All wrapped similarly. All near the same stretch of beach. By spring, the number was up to 10. 10 bodies. And still no sign of the girl who called me, begging for help before vanishing barefoot into the cold. I didn't know what to feel. Relief that we'd found other victims? Guilt that hers was still missing? rage that someone had been doing this under our noses for years? When they finally found Shannon's remains in December 2011, over a year later, it was in the marsh, half a mile from where she'd last been seen. Her clothes were torn. No drugs in her system. No obvious injuries. The official cause of death? Inconclusive. The theory? She was mentally unstable, ran into the marsh, and drowned. But that never sat right with me. Not after hearing her voice. Not after hearing what she said. Because when you've done this job long enough, you learn to recognize the difference between panic and paranoia. Shannon was afraid of something. She wasn't confused. She wasn't hallucinating. She was running from someone. And here's the part one don't talk about. The part one didn't write in the report. 3 days after the call, I got another one. No number, just unknown caller. I answered like I always do. 911. What's your emergency? Silence. Then breathing. Slow. Controlled. And in the background, what sounded like waves. Then, right before the line went dead, a whisper. You didn't help her. Click. I reported it, of course. Tech couldn't trace it. Said it came from a spoof tower. I still get calls like that sometimes. Always early morning. Always untraceable. Sometimes they don't say anything at all. Just breathe. Other times they whisper names. Not just Shannon. Others. Victims whose files I never worked. Girls from cities I've never lived in. Some of them never even made the news. And sometimes I think whoever did this, they're still out there. Listening. Calling. Taunting. Because maybe it wasn't just a murder. Maybe it was a performance. A game. And I was part of the audience. I left Dispatch 2 years ago. Couldn't take the late nights anymore. The guilt. The helplessness. But I still wake up around 5 a.m. almost every morning. Phone in hand. Waiting for it to ring. Waiting for the voice. The one that says, there's somebody after me. And the line that always follows right before it cuts. You didn't help her. A few months back, I got another one. But this time it wasn't a woman. It was a man. Calm. Cold. Like someone reading off a list. Angela. Naomi. Tracy. Shannon. I froze. Then, you only remember the screamers. But they all called. I sat there for hours after that call, phone still in my lap, replaying it. It never rang back. And it never came up in the system. Like it never happened. And then something else. A letter. No return address. No stamp. Just left in my mailbox. Inside, a single Polaroid. A picture of a woman, eyes open, face slack, like she was asleep or drugged or worse. On the back, you'll hear her soon. I gave it to the police. Nothing came of it. But the next day, at 4:58 a.m., my phone rang. And the voice whispered, red dress or black? Just like Shannon. I don't know what I'm part of anymore. But I know this. Someone is still playing the game. And they remember everyone who picked up the phone. So if you ever hear breathing on the line, or a voice asking what to wear, don't hang up, because you're not the one being hunted. Not yet. I remember the exact moment the call came in. It was 3:17 a.m. on a Tuesday, one of those dead hours when even the streetlights seem half asleep. I just poured a stale cup of coffee and was skimming through yesterday's reports when the line lit up. 911. What's your emergency? There was silence at first, just a faint rustling, then a man's voice. Shaky, dry, but clear. I don't know where I am. I've had a lot of strange calls in my 10 years as a dispatcher, but something about his tone cut through me. There wasn't panic, not exactly. It was confusion layered with dread, like he was still trying to decide if he was dreaming. Okay, sir. Are you in a safe location? I think so. I woke up in this house. I'm inside, but it's not mine. He sounded early 30s, maybe. Breathing hard. I typed as fast as I could, flagged it priority, and started the trace. Are you injured? No. There was a pause, and then it's cold. There's no heat. The windows are boarded up from the inside. I tried the front door. It won't open. Can you tell me anything about the house? Landmarks, cross streets, anything out the windows? I can't see out. The boards are nailed tight. The only light is from this lamp. There's no electricity anywhere else. The GPS on the call was vague. It pinged somewhere off a service road outside Claremont, near the woods. We had a few seasonal cabins out there, most abandoned in the winter. I sent the coordinates to a unit immediately. Sir, what's your name? He hesitated. Matt. Okay, Matt. Stay with me. Do you remember how you got there? Another silence. I don't. I went to sleep in my apartment. I live alone. I remember brushing my teeth. I turned on a podcast. I woke up here. A memory blackout. Drugs? Trauma? I couldn't tell. But his voice didn't sound intoxicated. Then he said something that made my stomach turn. There are pictures on the wall. What kind of pictures? Of me. With a woman. And 2 kids. Do you know them? No. His voice cracked then. The shock was wearing off, and something else was creeping in. Real fear. There's a kitchen calendar. It says 2019. That froze me. This was February 2025. Do you see a phone or any way to contact someone? There's a landline. I used it to call you. No cell signal. Do you see any names on the mail or anything that might help us locate the address? No. Everything's blank. It's like someone set it up, just for me. At that point, I heard something faint and muffled through his phone mic. A creak. Floorboards. My fingers tensed over the keyboard. Matt, are you alone in the house? Long pause. I thought so. The call went silent for almost 20 seconds. I kept my mic open, breath held. Then his voice came back, whispering. There's someone in the hallway. I mouthed to my supervisor to reroute another unit. He nodded, already on it. I'm in the bedroom. I closed the door. But there's no lock. Matt, listen to me carefully. Help is on the way. Can you describe the person? I didn't see them. I just heard the steps. Heavy. Slow. Then, wait. I heard the creaking again. Then a soft knock. Once. Twice. Matt. No answer. I was about to speak again when he whispered. They're calling me. I went cold. Calling you how? They said. Come eat. Like they've done it 100 times. I thought about the family photos. The calendar. Someone wanted him to believe he belonged there. Matt, do not open the door. I won't. He froze again. They just walked away. My screen blinked. Officers had arrived at the approximate location but didn't see a house. Just trees and an old dirt path. I related. Matt, do you see any lights? A driveway? Try to make noise if you can. He didn't respond. I heard him moving, quietly stepping to a window. There's something behind the boards. I think it's glass. I'll try. The line went dead. I called back. No answer. We kept trying for nearly an hour. The landline was never active again. The officers spent the night searching the woods. They found an old stone foundation deep in the forest, no roof, no walls. Just rubble. But there were signs of recent use. Burnt wood. Scraps of food. A mug with the name Matt etched into it. No signs of a person. No footprints. No phone. We ran a background check on every Matt reported missing. Nothing matched. No one came forward. It was like he never existed. I still have the call on a flash drive. I don't play it often, but when I do, I always hear something new. A second voice. So quiet it's barely there. Right after he says, they're calling me. You can hear it. A woman's voice, far away, like it's coming from down a long hallway. She says, come eat, honey. We made your favorite. Then, laughing. Not cruel. Not angry. Just warm, familiar. Like a mother calling her son to dinner. But there's something wrong with it. Like it loops. Same tone, same words, same pitch. Always the same laugh after. Almost mechanical. A month later, a second call came in. Same time. Same line. Different voice. A woman this time. Crying frantic. I woke up in a house that isn't mine. I froze. Everything she described was nearly identical. The boarded windows. The dead power. The fake family photos, except now they showed a man. A man she didn't know. A calendar marked 2017. And then she whispered, they're calling me too. We traced the call. It came from the same area. The same woods. Same result. By the time officers arrived, there was nothing. No house. Just trees. Just dirt. Just the cold. I don't know what this thing is. Some kind of trap. A ritual. A place that exists between moments. But it keeps happening. Every few months, someone new. And every time, it ends the same way. The line goes dead. The trace goes cold. And I sit there, alone in the glow of my monitor, listening to that one phrase over and over. Come eat, honey. We made your favorite. It was the night shift. A slow, quiet Tuesday with a drizzle of rain that never quite turned to storm. The kind of night you half sleep through, answering noise complaints and the occasional, my neighbor's lights are too bright. Nothing urgent. Nothing real. Then the call came in. 911. What's your emergency? The voice on the other end was a man, maybe mid-40s. Calm, but tense, like someone trying very hard not to panic. This is Rick Winters. I manage the Sunset Pines Motel just off Route 8. I think there's someone screaming in one of the rooms. That got my attention. What room number? 301, he said. Top floor. Corner unit. I pulled up the property on the map, pinged his location, and opened the notes from previous calls. Nothing unusual in the last few months. Can you tell me what you heard exactly? He hesitated. It sounded like a woman. Just once. Screamed something like, "Get out," or "Help me." I was in the office downstairs. No guests have checked in tonight, but the room's phone line is off the hook. I tried calling up. No answer. I started the dispatch. Officers were en route within 2 minutes. Did you check the room yourself? Not yet. I didn't want to go up alone. But the light under the door is on. That was the last thing he said before the line cut to static. I called him back. No answer. The officers arrived 12 minutes later. I kept the channel open while they moved through the lot. The rain had picked up by then, sheets of it, washing the neon sign into a blur. According to their report, room 301 was locked from the inside. They knocked. No response. They forced entry, and what they found didn't make sense. The room was empty. No guests. No luggage. No signs of forced entry or recent use. The phone was off the hook, sitting in the middle of the floor. But there was blood on the carpet, smears of it, leading from the bathroom to the wall. More disturbing, the mirror over the sink had the words "Get out" scrawled in condensation. But the glass was bone dry. The clerk was gone. They found the motel office unlocked, lights still on, register open. His car was parked out front. But Rick Winters had disappeared without a trace. I stayed on after my shift, listening back to the call. Something had bothered me about his voice. And that's when I noticed it. There was another voice on the line. Faint. Underneath Rick's. A whisper. At first, I thought it was static. But when I filtered it through the software and slowed it down, it was a woman's voice, gasping the words, "Don't let him in." My skin crawled. The next day, I tried to follow up. But when I called the motel, a new manager answered. Said Rick hadn't shown up for work. I asked about room 301. The manager paused. "There's no room 301, he said. I told him I took a 911 call from that room the night before. He went silent, then asked me to hold. A minute later, he came back, nervous. "Ma'am, that part of the building burned down in 1996. Top floor sealed. Been condemned for years." He offered to send me photos. I said yes. What he sent made my hands shake. The picture showed the hallway where 301 should have been. The door was boarded up with rusted nails. The wall around it was blackened, scorched. But there, a half covered by char, was the room number. 301. I pulled up the trace history from the night before. The call had come from a landline registered to the Sunset Pines Motel office. There was no active phone line listed for room 301. I brought all this to my supervisor. He told me to let it go. Said it was probably a prank, that the motel clerk just skipped town. But he didn't sound like he believed it either. Weeks passed. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Then it happened again. Different motel, different state. But another late-night call came in from room 301. Screaming. Phone off the hook. No reservation in the system. No one checked in. No one ever found. Now I keep a list. Every time I hear about one, a motel with a missing guest, a mysterious scream, a room that was supposedly vacant, I check the floor plan. And more often than not, there's a room 301. Sometimes condemned. Sometimes sealed. Sometimes just not listed. But it's always there. It's in the blueprints but not the website. Or it was removed after a fire. Or it's part of a wing under renovation that no one remembers building. Each time I dig deeper, the story shifts, ownership records missing, staff who disappear after working just a few weeks. Last month, I got bold. I called one of the motels, posed as a guest, asked if I could reserve room 301. The receptionist paused for a long time. Then she whispered, "We don't speak of that room," and hung up. And now, every time the phone rings past midnight, I wait for it. A quiet voice. A number that shouldn't exist. A whisper behind the caller saying, "Don't let him in." And I pray it's not from room 301, because I've started to dream about it now. Not just the calls, the room. I see it in perfect detail. The stained carpet. The rotary phone. The fogged up mirror with something just behind me, watching from the glass. I wake up with the smell of old smoke in my sheets. I swear I've started finding burn marks on my nightstand. And last night, I heard it, clear as day. A knock on my front door. 3 slow taps. When I looked through the peephole, no one was there. But when I checked my phone this morning, I had 1 missed call. No number, no voicemail. Just the time, 3:01 a.m. I've worked dispatch for almost 15 years. There are calls you expect, domestics, car wrecks, overdoses. Then there are the ones that feel wrong from the moment you answer. The ones where the voice on the other end doesn't just ask for help. It pulls you into something you can't explain. The call came in at 2:11 a.m. on a Friday. 911. What's your emergency? The voice was soft, female, calm, like someone reporting a power outage, not something urgent. He's awake again. That was it. I asked her to clarify. She just repeated it. He's awake again. The line traced to the site of the old Everett State Hospital. It had been shut down since the late 80s. Condemned. Scheduled for demolition in 3 weeks. The address was unmistakable. I'd passed it every day on my commute. Just a sprawling husk of brick and broken windows surrounded by rusted fencing. I flagged it, sent officers. No one should have been on that property. Ma'am, who was awake? I asked. Her answer chilled me. Patient 13. Then the line went dead. I called back, straight to static. I stayed late that night waiting on the officer's report. When they arrived, the front gate was still chained. No sign of forced entry. But the front doors were open, not broken, just unlocked. Inside, they found no one. No electricity. No signs of life. Just cold, damp halls and peeling walls. But in the old therapy wing, they found something strange. A tape recorder. Plugged in. Still running. And a single reel-to-reel tape labeled Session 13, March 4th, 1963. They brought it back for evidence. 2 days later, I asked the lead officer, a guy named Bryce, if I could hear it. He played me the first few minutes. The voice on the tape, soft, female, controlled, was identical to the woman who had called me. She was speaking to a doctor, describing waking episodes of something she called the man in the floor. She said he whispered through the vents, that he only spoke to her. The doctor asked her name. She replied, Patient 13. I asked Bryce if she was a known figure from the hospital's past. He told me they pulled records. There had never been a Patient 13. The average files listed 12 long-term residents before it was shuttered. 13 wasn't on any official roster. That would have been the end of it. But then the second call came in. Same voice. Same time. Different night. He's walking now. No location this time. Just silence after that. The tape? It disappeared from evidence. Bryce swore it had been sealed in a locker. Surveillance footage showed no one entering the evidence room that night. But the tape was gone. More calls followed. Sporadic. Months apart. Always at 2:11 a.m. Always the same voice. He's at the stairs. He knows your name. He's closer than you think. I started keeping a log. I made recordings, though none ever saved properly. The audio corrupted, scrambled. Even tech support couldn't explain it. I started dreaming about the hospital, about the vents, about something crawling behind the walls, whispering in a voice that sounded like my own. One night, I stayed late, just to see if she'd call. She did. Have you seen your floor? I looked down. Nothing. Just tile and coffee stains. But when I got home, I found muddy footprints on the floorboards of my apartment. Bare. Long. As if someone had walked through while I was at work. I live on the 6th floor. The windows were locked. That same night, Bryce vanished. Didn't show up for shift. His apartment was untouched. Wallet and keys left behind. His badge was found later, sitting on the front steps of Everett. Still warm. They never tore down the hospital. Funding issues. Legal red tape. Whatever excuse they gave, no one's touched the property since. But I still get the calls. Always at 2:11. Sometimes she says, he's outside now. Sometimes she just breathes. Once, she said something that made me unplug my headset and walk out of the building. I still haven't told anyone what it was. I don't think I ever will. But it wasn't the words. It was the way she said them. Like she knew me. Like she was watching me say them to myself in a dream. About a month ago, I started hearing noises in my building. Not voices. Not at first. Just faint knocking from inside the air vents. Rhythmic. Measured. Then the whispering began. Not in the vents, but from my phone. Even when I wasn't on a call. Even when it was off. Every night, 2:11 a.m. My phone lights up. No number, no ringtone, just that same soft voice, looping in my head long after it ends. He's closer than you think. I visited Everidge once, on my day off. I don't know what I expected to find. It was still boarded up, still rotting into itself. But as I walked the perimeter, I noticed something strange. In one corner of the lot, the chain-link fence was bent outward, like something had left, not broken in. And burned into the concrete near the back wall was a mark, a blackened handprint. Long fingers, no thumb, just 5 sharp points. Now I sleep with the lights on, but it doesn't help. Some nights, I wake up with dirt in my bed, like someone's been standing there, watching, waiting. So if your phone ever rings at 2:11 a.m. and you hear a voice say, "He's awake again," do not answer, because he is. It was late October when the call came in, just after 9 p.m., the kind of time where things are winding down, but not yet quiet. The city feels stretched thin at that hour. People are either heading home, getting drunk, or preparing for trouble. I was a year into the job and still clinging to the idea that I could help people, that if I stayed calm, stayed sharp, I could be the difference. That night changed that. 911. What's your emergency? The voice on the other end was a girl. Young, probably late teens, maybe early 20s. Breathless, like she'd been running. The fear in her voice wasn't loud, it was under her words, pushing them out one at a time. I'm at the Shell station on 78. I need someone here right now. I asked her what was going on. She didn't answer right away. I could hear the faint background noise, fluorescent hum, the soft buzz of a nearby sign, the metallic clink of a cooler door closing. Maybe music from inside the store, half muted by the glass. Then she said something that made my skin prickle. There's a guy following me. He was in the store. Now he's outside. He's just standing by my car. I pulled up the station location, a rural stretch just outside our main patrol zone. Sparse lighting, flat land, not much around. The kind of place that's too dark for how open it feels. Closest units were 10 to 12 minutes out. I flagged it urgent and logged the time. Okay, I'm sending officers to you now. Can you go back inside the store where it's safe? She hesitated. He's watching me. There was a long pause after that. Her breathing was shallow now, more like holding it and then catching it. I felt my shoulders tighten. Is the door locked? Can you stay inside until help arrives? No. I'm not in the store. I'm behind it. I thought I lost him. That wasn't what I expected. I asked her why she wasn't inside. I didn't want him to see me calling. He looked right at me, like he knew I was going to do something. Something in her voice cracked then. Not panic, instinct. Pure, animal-level fear. What's your name? Jess. Okay, Jess. I need you to stay where you are. Don't hang up. Help is on the way, but I need you to keep talking to me, okay? She went quiet for a second. I think he went around the other side. I can't hear him anymore. Her breathing steadied a little. I asked her to describe her car, her clothes, anything that would help the officers locate her when they arrived. That's when it happened. She said, I drive a gray Honda Civic. I'm wearing it. And then, nothing. Not like she dropped the phone. Not like the signal cut. Just blank air. A sudden void where her voice had been. I stayed on the line. Listened. Called her name. Once. Twice. Over and over. Nothing. After a minute, I initiated a callback. It rang twice. Then disconnected. I pinged the call location again. It still showed behind the gas station, near the dumpsters. The unit arrived 5 minutes later. I was still on shift when the officer radioed back. No sign of her, he said. Car's here. Unlocked. Keys in the seat. They canvassed the area. Inside the store, the clerk said she'd come in, bought a soda, used the restroom. Said she looked nervous, kept glancing at the windows. But he never saw anyone following her. And she didn't mention anything. No signs of a confrontation. No raised voice. No struggle. Security footage showed her entering the store, pacing a little, buying the drink, and walking back outside. Then, nothing. The cameras didn't cover the back lot. They brought in dogs, helicopters, even drones. Nothing. It was like she walked into the shadows and never came back out. Her family confirmed her identity. Jessica Rowe, 19. No history of mental illness. No signs of trouble. No reason to run. She was on her way home from her boyfriend's house when she stopped for gas. Texted him she'd be there in 20 minutes. I listened to the call again, dozens of times. The first few seconds, you can hear her footsteps. The crunch of gravel. The slight rattle of something metallic nearby. And then, something else. Just before the silence. A breath. Not hers. A breath close to the mic. Like someone exhaled, right into her phone. They checked her phone records. Nothing strange before the call. No texts or missed calls after. The signal never moved past that back lot. It ended where she did. I asked the tech team if the call could have dropped due to interference. They looked at me like I didn't understand how cell towers work. Dropped calls don't behave like that, one of them said. Weeks passed. Then months. No leads. No signs. The case went cold. Her parents called the station every day for a while. Then every week. Then not at all. And I thought that was it. Until last February. A 911 call came in. Different girl. Different location. But same kind of voice. Same fear. Same words. There's a guy following me. He was in the store. Now he's standing by my car. I froze. It was a gas station 2 counties over. I pulled the call history. Different number. Different carrier. But I listened to the recording after the call ended. Same breath. Same exhale into the phone just before silence. That girl disappeared too. Now I keep track of them. There have been 4 since Jess. 4 girls. All under 25. All at gas stations in rural areas. All calling about a man standing by their car. The recordings always end the same way. I stopped sleeping properly a while ago. Started checking the time obsessively around 9 p.m. Started keeping a scanner by my bed. Just in case. Because I know the call's going to come again. Same voice. Same panic. Same silence. And I swear, every time I hear that breath at the end, it's getting closer. I've taken thousands of calls over the years, some horrifying, some tragic, most just mundane. But there's one I can't explain. One that still sits in the pit of my stomach like a cold stone. It was early spring, maybe mid-March. A foggy, quiet night. I was halfway through my shift when the call came in. 1:42 a.m. 911. What's your emergency? The voice was a man's. Calm, but tight. Like someone trying not to sound afraid. There's been an accident, he said. I immediately straightened in my chair, fingers ready to type. Where? Route 47. Just past the last turnoff before the state line. 2 cars. Head on. One's flipped. Are you a witness? Are you hurt? No, he said. I saw it happen. I think someone's still inside one of them. He gave a few more details, make and model, location near a roadside sign. The signal wasn't great, but clear enough. I dispatched units, fire, and EMS immediately. They were 10 minutes out. Can you stay on the line? I asked. No, he said. It's already done. You'll see. The line went dead. I tried calling back. The number was unlisted, registered to no provider. No name, no ID, just unknown caller. I kept the line open until officers arrived. And that's when everything broke logic. There was nothing there. No cars. No debris. No broken glass. No tire marks. Just the empty road and low-lying fog. The officers searched for a mile in either direction. Checked ditches, nearby trees, shoulders, nothing. One of them even joked over the radio that maybe the guy saw it in a dream. I logged it anyway, filed the call under possible false report, and went back to my night. But exactly 1 hour later, 2:42 a.m., the call came in. Another dispatcher took it. A frantic voice screaming that there'd been a wreck. Route 47, just past the state line. 2 cars. One flipped. It was real this time. The first officers to arrive recognized the scene instantly. It matched everything. The models, the positioning, even the damn sign. Just like the first caller described. The only thing different was the time. They found 2 victims. One was dead at the scene. The other was barely conscious, trapped upside down in her seatbelt. When they pulled her out, she kept mumbling something that made the responding EMT stop cold. He said he'd seen me. He said I was going to crash. No one could get anything else out of her. She coded in the ambulance. They revived her, barely. That would have been the end of it. Chalk it up to coincidence, weird timing, maybe a lucky guess. But I couldn't let it go. I pulled the original call log. Checked the metadata. The timestamp said 1:42 a.m. But the audio? It had no header, no bit rate. Our system couldn't identify the codec. It was like the call hadn't passed through our dispatch software at all. It had just appeared. IT said it was probably a glitch, but it wasn't. Because 2 weeks later, I got another call. Same voice. Same dead calm. There's going to be a fire. Where? I asked, already typing. Eastfield Apartments. Building C. When? Tonight. That's all he said. Then he hung up. I flagged it, of course. Passed it to patrol. Officers drove through. Didn't see anything. Apartment looked fine. No smoke, no alarms. Then, around 3 a.m., 2 hours after the call, an electrical fire broke out in the laundry room. Sprinklers failed. 2 people were trapped in the stairwell. They made it out. Barely. When I listened back to the call, I noticed something even worse. There was a sound under the man's voice, faint, but rhythmic, like something clicking in time. For taps. Then silence. Then 4 more. It didn't come from his end. It came from ours. I started keeping a list. Each time he calls, it's about something that hasn't happened yet. And each time, it does. The 3rd call was about a drowning at Willow Lake. 4th, gas explosion at a diner. Closed kitchen. Faulty pilot light. Always vague. Always just enough to get units there too late. And always untraceable. I gave the recordings to my supervisor. He told me to stop pursuing it. Said they were anomalies and not actionable threats. He said they'd forwarded them to Homeland Security just in case. That was 3 months ago. Last week, I got another one. Same voice. Same tone. But this time, it was different. He didn't report a crash. Or a fire. Or a crime. He said one sentence. I'm calling to report a dispatcher. My stomach dropped. Who? He paused. You. The line cut out. I froze. Just sat there with the phone pressed to my ear like I could force him to come back. I pulled the call log. No entry. No number. No trace. That night, I started getting calls on my personal cell. Blocked numbers. Static. Silence. Until finally, last night, I picked one up. All I heard was 4 slow clicks. Then, you'll see. I don't know who he is, or what he is, but whatever's calling. It's always right.